Welcome to Impartial Points and our explainer on oligarchies. What do ancient Sparta, the Venetian Republic, and modern corporate boardrooms have in common? They all share elements of a governance system known as oligarchy. Oligarchy isn't just a relic of the past. It's a concept that continues to shape societies and economies around the world today. In this video, we'll dive deep into the concept of oligarchy. We'll explore its origins, how it functions, and historical examples of oligarchic rule. By the end, you'll understand how this form of governance operates and its lasting impact on history and society. What is an oligarchy? The term oligarchy comes from the Greek words oligos, meaning few, and archaea, meaning rule. An oligarchy is a form of governance in which power is concentrated in the hands of a small group of people. These individuals may derive their power from wealth, family ties, military control, corporate influence, or other factors. Unlike monarchies, where power is hereditary, or democracies, where power is distributed among the people, oligarchies limit decision-making to a select group. The origins of oligarchy. Ancient Greece, the birthplace of the term. The concept of oligarchy originated in ancient Greece, where political philosophers like Aristotle and Plato analyzed different forms of governance. Aristotle's view. Aristotle identified oligarchy as a deviant form of aristocracy. In his view, aristocracy was the rule of the best or most virtuous, while oligarchy was the rule of the wealthy few, often prioritizing their interests over the common good. Plato's critique. Plato explored oligarchy in his famous work The Republic, describing it as a system dominated by material wealth, where rulers focus on accumulating wealth rather than governing justly. And natural evolution. Oligarchies often emerge in societies where resources or decision-making are centralized, such as in early city-states, empires, or corporate-dominated economies. As wealth or power concentrates, governance tends to shift from inclusive systems to smaller ruling elites. In the United States, this trend was limited initially by limiting the power of the executive branch. Characteristics of oligarchies. While oligarchies can take many forms, they share some common traits. Concentration of power. A small group holds most of the decision-making authority. Wealth and privilege. Economic power often translates into political power. Lack of accountability. Oligarchs are often shielded from public scrutiny or checks and balances. Self-perpetuation. Oligarchs use their influence to maintain and expand their power, often suppressing opposition. Historical examples of oligarchies. Ancient oligarchies. The Spartan oligarchy. Structure. Sparta was ruled by a dual monarchy supported by a council of elders and an assembly. However, true power rested with a small group of elite families who controlled Spartan society. Characteristics. The oligarchy prioritized military strength and the subjugation of the helots, who were enslaved peoples. Athens under the 30 tyrants. Context. After Athens was defeated in the Peloponnesian War, a pro-Spartan oligarchy known as the 30 Tyrants was installed. Rule. This small group suppressed democracy and ruled through fear and executions. Their reign lasted less than a year before democracy was restored. Medieval and Renaissance oligarchies. The Venetian Republic. Structure. Venice was governed by a doge, a council, and the Great Council, which was composed of wealthy merchant families. Characteristics. Power was concentrated in the hands of a few elite families who controlled trade and politics. Venice thrived as a commercial hub under this oligarchic system, but there was a strict class system in place, and commerce didn't benefit everyone. The Dutch Republic. Governance. Wealthy merchants and influential families held sway over the Dutch Republic. Impact. While the system allowed for significant economic growth and cultural achievements, political power was far from democratic, and again, the economic benefits didn't trickle down to the workers. Modern oligarchies. 19th century industrialists. During the Industrial Revolution, oligarchies emerged in industrialized nations. In the U.S., figures like the robber barons amassed vast wealth and used it to influence politics and society. Russia, post-Soviet era. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, a small group of oligarchs gained control of Russia's key industries through controversial privatization deals. Privatization is a hallmark of modern oligarchical tendencies. Impact. These individuals wield significant economic and political influence, shaping Russia's trajectory in the modern era. How oligarchies form. Concentration of wealth. Economic inequality often leads to the emergence of oligarchies, as those with wealth gain disproportionate influence over politics and governance. Weak institutions. In countries with weak democratic or judicial institutions, elites can manipulate systems to entrench their power. Crisis or upheaval. During periods of war, economic collapse, or political instability, power often consolidates into fewer hands, creating the conditions for oligarchic rule. Uninformed or misinformed populace. People will often support oligarchies believing they will benefit from the rule of the upper classes. Historically, this is not the case. In modern eras, wealthy would-be oligarchs often adopt a populist image to obtain support from the lower classes so they are easier to control. Why don't oligarchies generally produce healthy states? Inequality. Oligarchies often exacerbate social and economic divides. Corruption. Lack of accountability can lead to corruption and exploitation. Suppression of dissent. Opposition is often marginalized or silenced, reducing democratic freedoms. The illusion of stability. While oligarchies may at times seem stable, they generally have large amounts of civil discontent just under the surface. Oligarchic tendencies in modern democracies. While many countries identify as democracies, oligarchic tendencies can still emerge. For example, campaign financing. In the U.S., the influence of wealthy donors and corporate lobbying often shapes policy. Corporate influence. Large multinational corporations wield significant power over economies and governments. Economic inequality. The gap between the ultra-rich and the rest of society creates disparities in political influence. Recognizing and addressing oligarchies. Transparency and accountability. Strengthening democratic institutions and ensuring transparency can help prevent the consolidation of power. Economic reforms. Policies that reduce income inequality, such as progressive taxation, can weaken the foundations of oligarchic systems. Civic engagement. A well-informed and active citizenry is crucial for holding elites accountable and promoting democratic values. In summary, oligarchy is a concept as old as governance itself, and its influence can be seen throughout history. From ancient Sparta to modern corporate boardrooms, it raises important questions about power, accountability, and equality. Understanding oligarchy helps us recognize its presence and work towards systems that prioritize fairness and representation. We hope you found this discussion informative and insightful. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of information at your fingertips. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Join us next time on Impartial Points.